तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यां मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्। अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मेस्तु तदात्मनि निरते य उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। A very beautiful story was added in the third chapter, wherein the story begins that Daivasura Sangrama, the Devas won, and having won, they were celebrating as though it was their personal effort and the victory thereof. Though it was that Parabrahma Paramatma alone supported them, helped them win over the Asuras. Just to ground them and anchor them properly, that Brahman appeared in the form of a very adorable, glorious form. Not understanding who that adorable, glorious form, these people thought, the Devas thought, that it was a Yaksha. Yaksha, that which by its presence troubles people. So they thought it was a Yaksha. Assumptions. So they all grouped, gathered and appointed first Agni, then Vayu, and both of them were not even able to ask a question. They were instead interrogated. Not asked, interrogated. Who are you? What is your power? What can you do? What is your greatness? Oh, if that is your greatness, try burning this blade of grass or blowing this blade of grass. Both of them returned gloriously without knowing the answer. Then they request Indra to go and find. As soon as Indra arrives, that glorious looking form suddenly disappeared. This complete different kind of an experience caused Indra to start questioning, understanding what is happening, why is it happening. He investigated into it. And as his intensity for that investigation, the sincerity with which he tried investigating, that Shruti Mata, verily in the form of Uma Haimavati, she appears. That is where the story ended. Now we all, in our own experiments, as we started yesterday, that we are all quite a scientist. We are all searching and seeking for one padartha. How can I find immense amount of trupti, immense amount of security and immense amount of happiness? The key being happy. Through the indriyas, we try experimenting experimenting with the world of happening. Sometimes, when all the agitations subside, it happens. There is no pressing responsibility, there is no fires to be put off, your responsibilities are done, and you have some peaceful time for yourself. And you are not interested in wasting that time in front of seeing some soap operas or looking into the other sizes of screens or chatting away. You were just being peaceful with yourself. At that time, there is definitely for a sincere seeker a question that should arise. What exactly am I doing? What is the purpose of my being? Fulfilling the responsibilities, running from pillar to post, taking care of different kinds of fires that I have to put off, maintaining a balance in all the relationships, that takes huge space. Is this all? Is there something more? And as the investigation continues, the organs of perception and action can only take us so far. It can at the most reveal the ephemeral nature, the temporariness of the world of experience. Beyond that, the organs of perception and action cannot reveal anything else. And the mind understands this temporariness as it starts investigating further. It also fails because it is now stepping into the realm of unknown, and in the field of unknown, the mind cannot function because that is not how it is designed. Then comes the intellect, which takes over and starts probing in. Every seeker should come across this particular dilemma in their probe, in their investigation. Having reached to one particular point where you certainly can see, visualize that all the field of world is temporary, that which is interacting with that world, the organs of perception and action are conditioned and limited. The emotions, if used properly, is quite a good tool, but most of the times it runs haywire. For all this to function, there needs to be something which is empowering us from within. It is not just the food that empowers, it is not just the prana that empowers. There must be something more, because of whose presence all of this functions. At that point, that which the intellect is trying to investigate upon, as though the carpet is pulled away under from our feet, that investigation itself vanishes. Because the intellect it is trying to turn around to see its source, and it cannot see that source. It's not difficult, it is impossible. See, if it is difficult, you can put a little more effort, little more courage, little more stability, and probe in. When it comes to that shocker, what is it that which, when I turn around within, I feel completely lost? At that point, without feeling or giving in to our despair, lack of clarity, immense amount of cluelessness, one should bring all the the Shraddha together. In Bhagavad Gita, 12th chapter, Arjuna asks, Bhagavan, I keep hearing that there is Saguna Sakara and Nirguna Nirakara. Which among these two is the best one to follow? And Bhagavan does not answer that question, but instead he gives a very basic route for both of these. He doesn't answer this or that. He says, Shraddha Dhana, the one who has Shraddha, that alone grows. Without Shraddha, you try either one, you will fail. So the intellect gathers that Shraddha, and at that moment, the Shruti reveals herself in the form of a Guru. Now, whenever these three things happen, we have been again and again reading that Durlabham Trayam Eva Etat Manushyatvam Mumukshutvam Mahapurusha Samshayah. Born as a human being is a rarity. This inquisitiveness to get away from all sense of limitations, all sense of conditionings, as an inspiration from within, not out of disgust. लाचारी से नहीं, सावधानी से. When the Shraddha takes us to that point wherein I see the limitation, I want to get beyond this limitation. These conditionings are suffocating. I need to understand to go beyond these limitations. And when the seeker sincerely asks of that Ishvara provides to us that Shruti, the blessings of the Shruti, in the very incarnation of a Guru in our life. That who can lead us, guide us from the point where the intellect now stumbles into cluelessness to clarity. That is where Uma Haimavati expresses herself as the very mentor and guide. Having gotten the approachability to that Guru, having the inquisitiveness to get beyond all the limitations, Mumukshutvam, Mahapurusha Samshrayah, then the priority of life should change. But the priority will change only if I have been honest to myself. That whatever investigation that my intellect has conducted, it is not a fleeting investigation. It has brought me to that Shraddha from within, wherein here the word Shraddha is not just a blind belief. Shraddha by definition is Sat Dharayate iti Shraddha, that with which I can envelop that Sat, that existential principle as my nature, to accommodate it, to be able to focus only on that. That bhava is called Shraddha. Then when the Shruti reveals herself through the words of the Guru, with the blessings or the karuna of that Guru Maharaj, the words penetrate beyond logic to point straight at the experience. Because the Shruti and the Guru are giving us a pointer. They can only show a pointer, beyond which our Shraddha is what should take us towards that which is pointed. Indra, Indriyanam Raja, the one who is the king of all the organs of perception and action, the intellect. Now, that intellect should have honest dialogue with its mentor, its guide. Now, that dialogue is being revealed in the next chapter, page 168, the fourth chapter, first mantra. सा ब्रह्मेति होवाच ब्रह्मणो वा एतद्विजये महीयध्वमिति ततो हवै ततो हैव विदाञ्चकार ब्रह्मेति. Now, the Shruti Mata is pointing, saying, that which you saw, that which you called as Yaksha, Brahmeti Hovacha, was verily that Brahman. Brahmano va etad vijaye mahiyatvam iti. The victory is of that Brahman alone, and the Mahima is of that Brahman alone. In the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in the 10th chapter of 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan talks about the glory of that Paramatma in expression. The topic starts at 7th chapter, but Arjuna is interested in, because the 7th chapter at the very end, Bhagavan mentions afterlife. Now that is one topic who is not interested in. क्या होता है? So 8th chapter goes into that discussion. But Bhagavan, being Bhagavan, as an amazing teacher, that topic which was stopped or paused in the 7th chapter, he begins it again in the 9th chapter and concludes in the 10th one. The Mahima of this, the glory of this Brahma Tattva. One of the beautiful pointers that is given, he says, Buddhim buddhimatam asmi. I am verily your buddhi. I am also expressing as your desire. Kamosmi Bharatarshapha. I am verily your desire. But what kind of desire? Dharma aviruddho bhuteshu kamosmi Bharatarshapha. That kind of kama which is not against your dharma. That kind of kama is verily my own expression, my own mahima. What is being pointed is so beautiful and subtle. We, as the ego, unnecessarily stake the claim for everything that which is happening. I have done it. It is my achievement. It is my glory. It is as though डींग हाँकने के लिए बहाने ढूंढते रहता है. Just for being boastful, the ego keeps searching for various avenues. Something great must have happened. You were passing by when that was happening. But how do you go and talk about it? मैं वहां पे था इसीलिए हुआ. Not even those that which you have directly participated. That which was happening, you are passing by, you take a claim on that also. That is how boastful is this ego. That all the Mahima, all the Vijaya, all the successes, all the accomplishments is mine. We do it regularly. And the corporate sector has trained our minds to project ourselves, to claim for everything. You have to now self-evaluate and project yourself. Otherwise, you will not get your promotions. Am I being wrong? Isn't that how the corporate field works? Now we are trained also that is how you get your khyati, your fame, your limelight, your position, your power. We think that is normal. And that is what takes us away from our sense of peace. Then we end up spending tons of amounts of resources with the psychiatrist to find that peace. This is what I would call "A बैल मुझे मार." ABMM, we have a PhD. My Mahima, my Vijaya, my success, my glory. And then add on the social media on the top of it. To present everything in such a way that my life is the glorious life. That is my Mahima. If all that which we post as we post, even 10% true, we would have been much more peaceful society. हाथी के दिखाने के अलग और चबाने के अलग होते हैं. But we are caught up in the दिखावा only. Completely lost in it. For that mind which is completely lost in it, to understand that the Mahima is purely of some divine presence for this Mahima to express, not mine. If that conscious principle, now when I say that Mahima, that divine, don't expect a cinematic, some glow coming and touching and you suddenly, nothing like that. It is very simple. It is already enlivened. That Brahma Tattva has never forgone us, has never given up. Because of its presence, I can see, I can smell, I can taste, I can touch, I can think, I can process. But in between that layer, ego, it stakes the claim that all this glory is mine. The mantra is very simple, one line. That this Vijaya, this Mahima belongs to that Brahman. That conscious principle which is enlivening us from within, that alone, because of whose presence, anything can function. Just like in the families, I see when the couple, bring their children and they introduce. Whenever the child is brought in for counseling, the parents are like, सब अपनी माँ पे गया है. That which is not the glory, I want to put the blame on someone else. But if it is a glory, definitely मुझ पे गया है. Same thing internalized. All the glories are mine. Another subtle point. Daivasura Sangraha. The Daivi gunas, when they are strengthened, they alone will win. But in life, the purpose of life is not the fight of good versus bad and to glow in goodness, but to transcend and go beyond that goodness as well, to arrive at divinity. As much as there is an ahankara, or through that ahankara we function in the negativities, asuri qualities, it is the same ahankara which is functioning through the positive good qualities as well. Oh, tamasic is bad. Rajasic is okay. But now I have become sattvic. Even that identity with that sattva guna is nothing but ahankara. Gurudev in his various works in Bhagavad Gita, in self-unfoldment, art of man-making, he says, earlier the prison or the cage that we had locked ourselves in was an iron cage or a stone cage. Now the sattvic is a golden cage, but it is nonetheless a cage. It's a feel-good factor for that ego. Among the tamasic, I am best of the tamasic. From there we have grown. From there I have grown to become rajasic. Now in the sattva, konyosti sadrusho maya. Who can be more sattvic than me? I am the goodest. I am the bestest. Even that identity has to be dropped. As long as we are identified with that sattvic nature, we cannot transcend beyond. Therefore, from the spiritual standpoint, as much as bad is bad, good is equally bad. Express yourself vigorously with all positive goodness to the world, but without the identity. Very difficult sadhana. Why? You do something good and somebody else is snatching the credit. We forget all karma siddhanta. How can somebody stake a claim on that which I have done? It is mine. But the karma yoga siddhanta functions that whoever is the entity that has performed, the results of it will come only to that individual, not to the one that has seemingly snatched it away. If they are temporarily basking in your glory, let them. For you, it should not make a difference, iota of difference. But we get caught up in that rat race, competition, comparison, schemes. mind games. All the energy is spent only at this level. Then we will not be in a position to recognize that divine within. So what should be the abhyasa? What should be the sadhana? Yat yat karma karomi tattadakhilam Shambho tavaradhanam. Whatever work that I am doing, whatever interaction that is happening, should become the aradhana of that Ishvara, that Ishtadeva. Even to a guest that comes to our house, we don't serve basi khana. Yesterday's leftover, heat it up, and to the guest, what do? Whatever little, whatever I can afford, whatever is doable at that point, I would try to give the best of it, isn't it? Now to that Bhagavan, if my karma, whatever interaction that I am doing, is the very seva of that Bhagavan, can I be giving something sloppy and say, Bhagavan, this is my aradhana? Start that way. But then it has to evolve to a point that every act, when it becomes aradhana of that Ishvara, then it has to be decent enough to be offered to that Bhagavan. When Gurudev used to write tons of letters. So many times when texting and messaging through emails, this thought crosses my mind. If this technology was available then, man, he would have reached out to millions, providing clarity and guidance. He would sit down, write hundreds of letters every single day, without any irritation or frustration. And I have heard him say, when he used to ask for paper, pen, he would say, where is my puja samagri? I have to serve that Narayana through these letters. The attitude has completely changed. That every act should become his aradhana. Therefore, every act should become so sophisticatedly beautiful in its expression. Because this Mahima belongs to that Parabrahma Paramatma alone. Thereby reminding the ego again and again and again that, oh Bhagavan, this glory is yours. It is just the medium through which you are expressing. A beautiful thought occurs. That is the very presence of that Paramatma. You can physically endure and do something beautiful. That is the presence of that Paramatma. You always strive to carry positive emotions, good feelings, and well-wishing feelings towards everyone. That is the expression of Paramatma. And that should become a natural state of disposition. That in every thought, word and deed, yat yat karomi tattadakhilam, whatever is happening at thought, word and deed, has to be offer worthy. If there is a thought, if there is a word, if there is an act, I should train my mind to pause, think. Is it something which can be offer worthy? That is when it should express. that it should become my own nature, that even by mistake there cannot be a wrong thought, a negative thought that can be generated. It doesn't mean that you don't see negativity. There will be negative outside in the world, you will perceive it. But your response to it will never be negative. Am I getting across? If this abhyasa is instilled, then slowly we come to that point wherein every act is done awarefully, consciously, with the presence in and through every single act that I am performing. Initially, when you are trying to balance something on your head, say a book, you keep on your head and try walking. Your head is stiff, your neck is stiff, your shoulders are stiff, trying to maintain the balance. If you have gone to the village side, there are women that are carrying a pot upon a pot upon a pot. As if that is not sufficient, in the side they have 2 more pots. Because the potable drinkable water is available somewhere far away. They don't have the sophistication of having piped tapped water to their kitchens. So they have to bring that drinking water from distance. So few women nearby, dost, they all carry these pots, and sometimes I have seen they have a child also on the side. A child, 2 pots here, 3 pots there. While going, maybe you think it is easy. Even that is not easy. And as they are bringing that water, they are gossiping, they are laughing, the focus seems to be not on those pots, and yet they seem to be in balance. Initially, it will seem very difficult. But you reach to that point wherein talking, walking, giggling, singing, that balance is the priority, rest of it is happening around it. Cycling, when you started, you would have thought, oh boy, why am I going through this misery? 2 rotating wheels, I had to find a balance. Impossible. But then slowly, after several severe crashes, without many patchworks, you cannot learn cycling. You will have to have several patchworks. But then you come to that point wherein single hand you are driving. It is not a slow, fast, efficient, yet maintaining the balance. Similarly, this conscious, awareful existence, wherein every thought, every word, every act that happens through me is happening where I am stationed, rooted, anchored deeply in the core of my own being. There cannot be a single thought or a word or a deed done without me being conscious of it. There is no room for regret or sorry for a sadhaka. That consciously we have to live our life. that every thought in its own globe, when it is glowing, it is the very presence of that divine which is flowing through it. That awareness should come in. So, hey Indra, all this Mahima which you are taking a claim at is actually that Brahma Tattva which is revealing here as conscious principle, because of whose presence you have been able to achieve it. Mahima Mahiyatvam. Tato Haiva Tatoha Eva Vidanchakara Brahmeti. That which was pointed, Indra, he paused all the processing and got completely as though sucked into that principle. He got absorbed into it. He immediately knew it, that which was pointed, as his own aparokshanubhuti, his own immediate, intimate experience as the self by the self. Vidanchakara Brahmeti. And then he must have had a smile on his face. No wonder. That is why my intellect failed to understand, because the intellect cannot perceive this as an objectified experience. The intellectualization has to pause. The intellect actually has to soak and merge. And in that intellect, this understanding prevails. That the intellect, the mind, the organs of perception action are functioning, when I say merely by the presence of that Paramatma, it is the reflection of that Paramatma, not even directly the Paramatma. The reflection of that Paramatma, which is what is empowering all of these. In that understanding, he found absolute conscious silence. Tatoha Vidanchakara Brahma eva iti. That this is Brahman alone. Continuing. Tasmadva yete devo. It should be Deva. Please correct in your books. Tasmat va yete devaha. Deva, when followed by a, it means, it indicates that there was a visarga which was dropped because of the sandhi rule. So when we are stopping there, we are doing sandhi vicheda, we have to add visarga. Tasmat va yete devaha atitaram should I break it down into further smaller? Atitaram anya devan yat agnir vayuhu indraste hyenannedishtham pasparshuhu dehenat prathamo vidanchakara brahmeti. Tasmat va yete devaha atitaram iva anyan devan. All the other presiding deities, in comparison to them, these devas, Agni, Vayu, Indra, they still can be considered the best among the Devas. Why? At least Agni and Vayu had the opportunity to direct proximity to that Brahma Tattva. Indra, not just the direct proximity, he understood it as his own true nature. Therefore, these three devas are way subtler, way more they have achieved in understanding Brahman. They have at least seen that Brahman. The Prana Vayu is one such bridge. Therefore, even in our meditation class, one of the key points that I say is after you are seated comfortably, you have to ensure that with the connecting bridge of the prana, just prana vikshana, because prana takes you that much more closer to that core within. Therefore, that prana vikshana, and through that prana vikshana, the outer externalities of layers are dropped and it takes you that much closer to that core within. Am I getting across? Hopefully. The Indriyas cannot take. The presiding deities of the Indriyas cannot take. Prana connects that bridge to take us from this grossness of the world to the subtle world within. The fire in our contemplation takes us that much more closer. Having logically gone that far, it is the intellect now that has to pause, think, reflect and see the source. The moment it sees the source, it stumbles into silence. Thereby the intellect gets the opportunity to abide in its true nature. Step by step, entire sadhana is given by saying that these devas are way more accomplished than the rest of the devas because they have had the direct vision of that Paramatma, that Brahma Tattva. Amongst them also Indra, because he has now personalized it and experienced it as his own true nature. Indraste hyenanne dishtam. He has perceived it as his true nature. The rest of them at least pasparshuhu. They have had the vision of it. Therefore, when you focus on your prana and you just inhalation and exhalation, there is a quietude that you immediately experience. That quietude, which is the very nature of that conscious principle, you get a glimpse of it. The contemplation and the meditation on that principle takes us further closer to that glimpse. And when all that processing stops, and in that silence, when the intellect can abide in it, it experiences it. Hyenanne dishtam pasparshuhu. Hi enat prathamaha vidanchakara brahmeti. It is only through this sharp intellect that one can perceive, experience. The first one to experience is that intellect. What does it experience? Its own true nature. But the dilemma here is the intellect which has experienced it cannot put it in words. It can give you pointers so that you can also experience. Why talk of this subtlety? There's a beautiful sweet pudding, and you're tasting it, you're reveling in it. Somebody asks, कैसा है? How is it? अरे बताओ तो सही. You lift both your hands and say, can you describe it? Then finally what do? You take a spoonful of it and put it into their mouth. That is how it is. Even a physical experience, it is difficult to put it in words. Imagine reveling in that tattva. Would it be possible to put it in words? All that the intellect can do is merge into it and soak into it. And that which reflects into that intellect is akarana ananda. Rest of the experiences, there is a karana ananda. There is a reason why I am happy. I am happy because the rains have started. I feel a sense of relief that there is no more the heat wave. Karana ananda. I got a fresh cup of coffee. Karana ananda. I got the breakfast which I truly love. Karana ananda. I met a person that I highly admire and love. Karana ananda. You can ascertain this was the reason because of which I have this joy. Akarana ananda, there is ananda reflecting in that intellect. But it is not caused because of something. It just is. Prathamaha vidanchakara. The intellect is the one that first experiences this true nature, reflecting in itself as ananda. Now such person, when they interact with the world, interact with the people around, there is an innocence of expression. Why is there an innocence of expression? For most all of us, every interaction there is a hidden agenda. What is that hidden agenda? What will I get out of it? Will I get that ananda through it? Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Things, beings, environments are likable as long as they give me some joy. So what is the hidden agenda in every interaction? Will this interaction give me that joy? Otherwise I don't want to interact. We are thorough businessmen. We don't have to belong to a certain community to be businessmen. We are ingrained with that principle. What is my ROI? Return on investment. If I invest this time, if I invest this opportunity, if I invest in this interaction, can it give me this amount of trupti, joy? If not, nah, I am not interested. Many parents sincerely they ask, how do I bring my kids to understand, bring them to Balavihar, Yuva Kendra, so that they can understand this? We try to enforce it and pressure it into them. The more you pressure, the more they rebel. Because they don't see a ROI in it. It must be cooler than, it must be more fun than their games that they play, their scrolls that they do on their phones, or the chats that they do. Can this be provided in comparison to what they are seeing, that it is much better return of their time and effort than what they already have? That is when they will be interested. Or else why would they be interested? We all are having this Vyanika Buddhi. What is my ROI? I like that environment, that person, that thing, as long as it is bringing me some joy. So there is all constant evaluation, calculation. Mind is constantly scheming. For this individual who has first experienced that joy reflecting, which doesn't have a karana, they have hit the golden spot inside. The ananda is ever flowing. Their interactions becomes therefore innocent, because I have nothing to squeeze out of you. Just a few days ago I had just an observation. They were going out of the temple, a mother and a son, a little tiny fellow. After a while he said, Mama, and Mama had to lift him. And Mama said, love you beta. And that fellow was cluelessly in his own world. Now that mother is, you love mommy, right? Squeezing it out of the child. And that fellow was still not paying attention. She turns his head, looks into his eyes, and then, you love mommy, right? And then again back to his world. Even in that kind of a sacred relationship of a mother and a child, we want to squeeze that out of them. Now this is the person, when they are interacting, they don't seek anything. If need be, that which is reflecting without a cause as ananda, take. It's not that they are trying to give it either. It's a natural disposition that, because again there could be an ahankara. I have ananda, I am distributing ananda, you should recognize it, you should know. Nothing of that sort. It's the nature and it is expressing. And when such individual occurs, that environment is unburdening environment. What is the burden that we carry? Constantly in every situation we are evaluating. मैं कितना दे रहा हूँ, वो कितना वापस दे रहा है. What is that give and take happening in every interaction? In such environment, there is no such equations. There is just a presence, and you cherish that presence. Prathamam Vidan Chakara. The first one to experience is that intellect, and that intellect expresses forth in all its innocence this joy unhindered. We'll continue it tomorrow. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो